Sup YouTube, it's TCG here and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. On this channel you get daily Pokemon TCG content, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 best decks in the Stellar Crown format. Stellar Crown is giving us, as a little example, this Terapagos EX archetype with, of course, the new Noctowl thrown in there, the Fan Rotom. This exact list is not actually playing Buffleland, but you could also throw that in there. But this actually is just an honorable mention. The reason why I wanted to be showcasing this list right now is that people are going to be saying, where is Terapagos? But I have looked at a ton, and I mean a ton of Japanese results to be giving you this honest information here. These are going to be the top 10 most represented decks in the early phases of the format in Stellar Crown, based on the Japanese results, because they have been playing with these cards for a long time and they have access, of course, to the knowledge and to the card pool already, so they know what is good and what is not. Surprisingly, out of like a ton of weekends where a lot of these cards are legal, Terapagos EX is actually not performing as I would hope to be, but maybe people can figure out the list. So this is going to be an honorable mention. So as we see here, Terapagos EX is going to be able to slap a lot of damage for every one of your bench Pokemon. The Area 0 under Depth Stadium card allows you to have up to 8 bench Pokemon if you have a Terra Pokemon in play. So you can slap down all your Hoots, you can slap down Fan Rotom, you can slap down your Pidgey, some Duskulls, and you can go wide on your board until you have 8 Pokemon on the bench. The cool thing is, of course, that you also come back with Luxray if you fall behind in prizes as your one prizer, which can also deal with stuff like Mimikyu, for example. But this combination will also have Dusknoir, so you can come back from the late game with stuff like Iono, with stuff like Counter Catcher, but more in particular, if you want, you can take a ton of prize cards with the help of Briar. I can see a lot of crazy things happening using Dusknoir to blow something up. If the opponent is at exactly 2 prize cards remaining, you can then use Briar, and on that turn, your Terra Pokemon, if you attack with it and knock something out in the active slot, you take an additional prize card, meaning if you knock out a 2 prize Phazandipity, for example, with Terapagos EX, while you use Briar, you get 3 prize cards, and that's how I still think a deck like this has potential, and I wanted to mention it here as the honorable mention. This is also playing the A-Spec Scoop Up Cyclone, so you can reuse the powerful effect of the Noctowl to get any 2 trainer cards you want from the deck if there is a Terra Pokemon in play. So then you can get back the Noctowl in hand, evolve the next Hoot, and it's very powerful to get all the combo pieces you want to win games. Definitely if you want to get yourself some Dusknoir, Candy Dusknoir situations going. And we also have come back with the Pidgeot EX, and it's going to be very, very powerful in my opinion to just test it out. We have no exact perfect 60s quite yet, but this is definitely something that could help you out. You can think about adding in some Buffalens for some additional defense. You can think about adding in pennies for some additional penny looping capabilities with Terapagos EX, but in a format with Raging Bolt, I think a very aggressive deck like this could help. And also something like Blood Moon Ursula could also be a way you can get yourself a late game sweeper. So this is going to be the honorable mention, and now we're going to be talking about the top 10 best decks in the Stellar Crown format. If you guys are hyped for it, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Helps out in ridiculous ways, only requires 1 tiny second every time, and does help out the channel tremendously. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So number 10 is going to be Miraidon. Miraidon is still good because of the fact that you're going to be one of those decks that can attack going second, and that's something that Terapagos EX cannot do. Miraidon also hits weakness against Lugia. Palkia gets a boost in this format as well, so you're actually good typing wise, and you can still get away while taking extra prize cards with the MP very much. On weak HP Pokemon, you can get back the Iron Hands through the means of Super Rod, and this list can now go wide on the board thanks to Area 0 under Depth, because the Mewtwo EX is actually a Terra Pokemon, which you can fetch through the means of Tandem Unit of the Miraidon. So you can slap down Squawkabilly, Raikou, Iron Hands, Mewtwo's in the bench. You can slap down the Mew EX, Phazandipity, Greninja, Iron Bundle, and all that good stuff. And if the opponent overlaps your Stadium card, you can get rid of your bench hitters, for example, Squawkabilly, Lumineon. So you can go wide on your board, and that also means that the Lightning Rondo of Raikou now is able to slap more damage than ever before. If the opponent, for example, has 5 Pokemon on their bench and you have a full bench of 8, you're actually going to be slapping a whopping 280, which is the magical number to, for example, knock out VSTAR Pokemon. A very interesting situation indeed. Raikou is going to be slapping more damage going second, so you don't need to have that much luck with your electric generators. And also because you're going wide on your board and the tandem unit is able to tin out the deck, tandem unit again, tin out the deck, you're going to be able to use, of course, some more powerful electric generators because of almost all your Pokemon will be on the field, which is totally awesome. This is going to be sliding in here on the number 10 spot. Number 9 is going to be Palkia VSTAR, back from the dead with the help, you might think, of Area Zero Under Depth. There are also some lists flying around there with Noctowl and Zero Area Under Depth shenanigans, but the most successful list, funny enough, in Japan is going to be the one that is recently hyped up going into Baltimore, Palkia VSTAR. So the cool thing with this kind of list is that you just go turbo with 4 candy, 4 night scratchers and the Pokestop shenanigans on top of Squawkabilly and Trekking Shoe. So you go turbo through your deck, and as soon as your second turn, this list always wants to go first, by the way, you want to establish as many VSTAR as possible, power up Radiant Greninja through the means of Star Portal on the Palkia VSTAR, and then use Moonlight Shuriken. In a format where people are needing to evolve, think about the Gardevoir deck, think about the Charizard deck, think about the Dragapult, so Gardevoir, Dragapult, Charizard, they all need to evolve, and if you're quick enough, you can swoop that entire field. If you're up against other Pokemon decks out there, like for example Regidrago VSTAR, you can simply start attacking with Palkia VSTAR. A very cool archetype. You have the late game Blood Moon. It is very similar to that Terapagos EX deck that we talked about in the Honourable mention, but this list is very aggressive with Prime Catcher, with a lot of Trekking Shoe, Pokestops, Squawkabilly, concealed cards, can also draw cards, and if you get knocked out, you have the flip the script of the Squawkabilly, not Squawkabilly, the Phazandipity. So I think it's a very strong list, and if you want to be playing Palkia, this is probably my preferred way to play Palkia because of the VSTARs in there. But if you want to be playing Noctowl instead with some Zero Area Under Depth stadium cards, that could also be the case. Moving forward, number 8 is going to be Snorlax Block. You thought you got rid of Snorlax Block? Well, nothing more is true. I know people could be playing the little spiders in the Roaring Moon list. They could be playing other ways to deal with Snorlax Block. Lugia is still around as well, which is inherently a bad matchup for Snorlax Block. So, but it is there. It has all the pieces there. Control-ish archetypes are still good. You have Noivern to cancel out big basic decks. Think about Miraidon, Ancient Box. Also, now that I talk about why is Ancient Box not on the list, little spoiler, because of Briar being able to take the additional prize cards for like those multiple prize Pokemon is way too much for an Ancient Box to handle. That's why Ancient Box did not make the list. But yeah, Snorlax Block, if the opponent doesn't have any switches in their deck, they're done for because you're trapping stuff. You use the accompanying flute to put Pokemon on the bench that the opponent doesn't want there, Lumineon, Manaphy, you name it, and then you trap them with Counter Catcher, and then you put Snorlax up front and you win games. That's how you typically do it. You want to mill the opponent, you can use Eerie to mill cards from the opponent's hand, Trainer item cards, very important, very strong card, or Misfortune Scissors to mill items actually from the deck. There is this new A-Spec card in here, but I would, this is actually not legal quite yet, so replace that A-Spec card with Heroescape and you're good to go to play this exact 60. In Japan, they already have access to more A-Spec cards, but just play Heroescape and you're gonna be good to go. There's also one DTE in this list right there. If you want to play this exact 60, just flip around the Heroescape, flip around that Ace-Pack card for the Heroescape and you'll be good to go. And also with Noivern, you're going to be able to wall off big basic decks. Mimikyu is still strong up, definitely against Charizard, and also Cornerstone can wall off the Charizard deck as well. So Snorlax Block still around, as mentioned, the Ace-Pack card of choice is Heroescape. Then moving forward, we're going to talk about number 7 here, is going to be this one. As mentioned, the spider I was talking about earlier is Patcharan, the ultimate counter for Snorlax Block. So if you're having trouble against Snorlax Block, Patcharan could be helping you out. Roaring Moon got second at Worlds, and this time around not a lot has changed. You're still very turbo-like. You have Squawkabilly, Radiant Greninja, Pokestop. This time around the list is actually playing some Ancient Boost Energy Capsules for some durability. You also play the Enhanced Hammer to get rid of Mist Energy, otherwise you can use Frenzied Gouging. 2 Pokemon Catchers in there instead of the 4 copies in there because you still have access to a Boss and a Prime Catcher as well. And the list doesn't change all that much, not any single card from the Stellar Crown even in this list, but the list is still good because Roaring Moon is a very, very aggressive deck out there. Then moving forward, number 6 is going to be Regidrago VSTAR has fallen down a little bit from tier S all the way to tier A, and that's because yeah, Briar is being thrown up in the list. That means Charizard can take 3 prize cards. They can bop a Dusknoir on top of using Briar. A lot of stuff can happen there, and that's also not counting in that Raging Bolt becomes so popular with the next format that yeah, the Regidrago deck falls down quite a bit in this upcoming format. It is still very strong though, because you have the versatility, you have access to the Dragapult EX to spread damage, and the Kyurem as well. Thinking about adding in Hisuian Gudra could be a thing if you're expecting a ton of Lugia, or maybe for mirror matches could also work out. We see here not a lot has changed as mentioned. The Jamming Tower is here because Gardevoir is seeing an uptick in play because of the popularity of Raging Bolt, and still the same stuff we've seen before. The split between Super Rod and 1 energy superior energy retrieval, 4 research, 2 Iono, 2 boss, and the Prime Catcher thrown in there. It's a very consistent list. We have the Hawlucha still, which works miracles. You have access to Radiant Zard for matches that become a little bit more difficult. For example, Raging Bolt, you can get rid of that. Even turn off Bravery Charms through the means of the Jamming Tower. So Radiant Zard into yeah, a Jamming Tower Iono play could be the way you win against Raging Bolt. So yeah, Regidrago, it's still there. If you've been having a lot of experience with Regidrago, you can still play it in the next format. Then, the undisputed top 5. Here we go with Gardevoir EX. Gardevoir EX doesn't need any new cards from Stellar Crown, but does get better with the upcoming format. This version of the deck also is playing only 1 Super Rod, but does make room for 2 Night Stretchers, which is going to easily allow you to get back Drifloon, Screamtail, you name it. Cresselia back in the list because Dragapult EX becomes better because of that Sparkling Crystal, and other than that, the ace pack of choice, Unfair Stamp over the Hyper Aroma in my opinion. And also we have 2 copies of TM Evo, a very consistent Guardy list that is going to be punishing a lot of archetypes out there that are not respecting Guardy. I know the good news is that Regidrago VSTAR falls off a bit because the popularity of Raging Bolt, and funny enough, Gardevoir really profits from that situation because Gardevoir has a very strong matchup against the Raging Bolt, and seeing the decrease in popularity of Regidrago decks is just very good for Gardevoir. So yeah, if you've been playing Gardevoir last format and you say like, oh, it's not good, it becomes better. Then number 4 is going to be Lugia VSTAR. Yeah, Lugia VSTAR is a solid deck. We've seen it at Worlds with Rahul ready getting 9th. We've seen it before in Baltimore. Lugia is still an archetype. If people are not playing temples, Lugia runs away with the format. It's been the same stuff over and over again. We have a very thick Chinchino line on top of Iron Hands, on top of Blood Moon, and that's going to be winning you games. You have access to only 2 copies of Professor's Research, but to make it up, you have the extra copy of Serena. Jacques is very good. Only 1 Luminion in here, but we do yeah, save some space because we need space for the Minchinos. You want to start with Minchinos most of the time. Definitely in a Raging Bolt format that is very popular. Pheasantipity can also draw more cards, so you can draw into the boss. And the cool thing is that with Serena in here, you can also gust up Rodoms if you want to, because those are still V Pokemon that are on a lot of the opponent's bench, which is awesome. So we have Jamming Tower, as mentioned, Gardevoir gets more popular, but Jamming Tower also helps with the Bravery Charms in the Raging Bolt decks, and you have Collapse to get rid of your 2 prize Pokemon if need be. Sometimes you can turn yourself into a 1 prize board state, definitely with a high amount of Chinchino. So you slap with Lugia, you get damage yourself, you retreat, you collapse it away, and then suddenly you have an army of Chinchino and the late game Blood Moon to win yourself the game. You only slap down Blood Moon when need to. So very cool Lugia still around. It's not a surprise. Next up, number 4 is actually number 3 is going to be Dragapult EX. This is something I've already tested out on the channel because Dragapult EX gains a lot. Not only do you get Sparkling Crystal, so you can attack for 1 energy with your Dragapult EX, you also gain Crispin if you don't find your first turn energy attachment, and Sparkling Crystal is being shut down with stuff like, for example, Jamming Tower, or they've used Vacuum on it. We have Pheasantipity for the draw power in the late game, Rotom for the draw power in the early game, and Quick Search Pidgeot to get any card you want, with 4 copies of Rare Candy and a very crazy setup through the means of Buddy Buddy Puffin, Nazball, and the instant charge of Rotom. You're going to be able to get a Dragapult out in no time. 4 copies of Arvin. Make sure you can just have Sparkling Crystal, and as soon as you have like a Candy or a Dragapult in hand, you can establish a turn 2 Dragapult attack, which is very scary. This list is playing the Pokemon League headquarters, and that's mostly for the Raging Bolt matchup, but also can work in your favor against other matchups like, for example, Miraidon or maybe Ancient Box if you ever see those, and Temple for the Lugia matchup, but also going to work against Terapagos. There's also the Gravity Orb Stone, which allows you to increase the retreat cost of the opponent's active by 1. You also increase your retreat cost by 1, but you can trap opponents while you use something like an Iono and then spread with Dragapult, so they're trapped for like a ridiculous amount of turns, and then you can win games very, very nicely. Okay, number 2 is going to be Raging Bolt. I was very tempted to put this one at number 1, but I didn't do it because I expect this deck to drop down in popularity, and I expect Charizard to go up in popularity. So, little spoiler effect, Charizard is my personal number 1 in the Stellar Crown format because it has more versatile options. So, first of all, Raging Bolt is still good and now gains Briar. Because we're playing Palpat and we burn through the deck very quickly, we can have those situations where we Radiant Greninja into Pheasantipity, into finding the Briar because we've used Palpat earlier. That means you can use Briar on the turn with the Teal Mask, and the Teal Mask can then knock out a 1 prizer to take yourself 2 prizes instead of just a regular 1. Raging Bolt knocks out maybe a Rotom with the help of Prime Catcher and or Pokemon Catcher. Then the Charizard comes in your way, you slap it around with a Teal Mask or a Raging Bolt, and then you finish off by knocking out either a 1 prize Pokemon with Teal Mask in the means of Briar and Gust, or you can also just one-shot anything, any 2 prizer with Raging Bolt. The deck is very strong. It also is consistent to the means of stuff like Squawkabilly, Radiant Greninja, Pokestop, 3 Pokegear as well. And the Pokegear also helps you to find Briar. So I think this is a very solid list and a very solid ground line if you want to be playing something very aggressive. And you don't want to be tying, definitely not in the updated tournament structure. So I think Raging Bolt is a very fine option and I expect it to be popular. But it's also counterable through the means of stuff like Gardevoir, through the means of a Briar of the opponent. So there is definitely some stuff that could happen. And I think it will be overshadowed a little bit by Charizard just because Charizard is it's a fan favorite and it has the best options, and we're gonna be talking about Charizard right now. Number 1, Charizard EX. Charizard EX has everything at its arsenal to win against every deck in the format. So let me explain. We have Dusknoir already, which is a very scary threat. Let's say you're up against a Lugia and Lugia only gets 1 Lugia down and you went first and there's a Duskull in play, means you can one-shot anything with the Burning Darkness attack of Charizard. Charizard sets up its own energies through the means of Inferno Rain, and you have the best late game potential ever because you have Defiance Band, you have Unfair Stamp, you have Counter Catcher, and now you even have Briar, which allows Charizard to take 3 prizes in the late game because of the effect that, let's say, the opponent has already taken 4 prize cards and you only need 3. Well, the cool thing is you can just go Dusknoir, damage on the active, Briar, and boom, you knock out a Dragapult EX. You knock out any 2 prizer, for example, while attacking with Charizard to take 3 prizes, which is very, very insane. You also have Radianzard as a very great, reliable 1 prize Pokemon in the late game. You can even Torton into it. You can Torton into Duskull, into Candy Dusknoir, into Boom, using the effect, going for Unfair Stamp and all that. It's a very crazy deck, and if you pilot it well, it's going to be winning a ton of games. We have the Mist Energy to protect yourself from TM Devo, because the only thing that can keep Charizard down is like TM Devo with Disruption. So that's why we've added in the Mist Energy in here. And there's always the opportunity to, of course, use the Charizard, or actually manually evolve into Charmeleon and then get the Charizard that way. So I think this list is just perfect. Just try it out for yourself. This is my number 1 pick for the Stellar Crown in the early phases of the format. Let's see if we're going to be able to make an updated list in a couple of months, because this format's going to be taking quite a while. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite deck was. I'm really curious to know what your thought process is in the Stellar Crown format. For me, Charizard takes the cake and gets the number 1 position for me. And also be sure to check out the sponsors that make the videos possible. DragonShield.com for your sleeves, binders, and deck boxes. Get 5% off using the coupon Zapdos5. There's TC Evolutions if you're looking for ability tokens / markers, or some very unique dice with very cool damage modifiers on there. Be sure to check out TC Evolutions and get 10% off using the coupon Zapdos TCG. link down below. There's PokemonStore.com for your TCG live code card needs. They have stellar crown codes up on stock. Use the coupon ZapDoesTCG for 5% off. And there's cardmarket.com for European players where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. Use the referral name ZapDoesTCG to help support the channel. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for more Pokemon TCG madness. Peace.